Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically in hockey, and even more specifically, just in Canada, as the name implies. I'm your co-host. You can find me on Twitter at The Prophet Mick. I think maybe just Prophet Mick. And I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host
Grant at Twitter. Nope, gotta frig this one up. On Twitter at Fourth Line Sports.
Nice recovery.
It was the ball. I was expecting a ball or something getting thrown my way.
I had a pen. Yeah, that's the problem. Stupid pen.
But after a 2-week hiatus, and that is we took the All-Star break off.
Yep.
We touched on hockey a little bit last week, but it was our triumphant Super Bowl prop show. We are back in action dealing with regular hockey in Canada headlines and betting advice, babes of the week. I don't know. Do we have anything else? Any other fun shenanigans planned for today? Are we doing cards?
Yeah, I got a trivia game for you in honor of the Olympics that maybe happened today. And yeah, I bought some cards. I mean, they were only from Shoppers Drug Mart, so nothing super special. But I restocked cards for you. That was pretty exciting.
Well, you're a gentleman.
That one trip, I take the one trip like a week out of my house and then come back in. So get supplies and just run back. So that's like, oh.
You know what would have been funnier though if you would have let yourself go throughout this time, and then we just kind of saw the de-evolution of Mick, where he's just kind of like long fingernails, beard, that scraggly hair. I think that would have got us more views than our typical stuff. So something to consider for the next pandemic, I guess.
I just let myself go. You know, it's just I have too much goddamn discipline.
Your life's just too in order.
That's
you
it.
Know what? I have no qualms about letting myself go. Maybe I'll just do it for fun one day and wait for somebody to call me out on it.
Smart.
No, we'll see.
Smart. Yeah, too much in order. I mean, except for the fact that I'm wearing my NBA All-Star jersey for a hockey podcast, which is weird.
Well, it's apropos.
It is NBA All-Star weekend. That's what I was going for. Come on, you got to represent.
And I'm going to guess that's a Lowry jersey.
It is. Yeah, it was his first All-Star appearance. Big deal. He got voted in New York.
I was doing a little bit of digging in the NBA All-Star game. Came across a total of 321.5. It's like basically bang on last year's total, which ended on 320. And then I took a deeper dive. You know, LeBron James's team is 4-0 in the All-Star game, so he's undefeated.
Okay.
I think that if we're going to go full circle here, it's in Cleveland this year, and he hasn't won the NBA All-Star. I think they call it the Kobe Bryant Memorial Trophy now. He hasn't won the NBA All-Star Game MVP trophy in quite some time. I could see this being the year. It all comes together for old LeBron James in Cleveland.
Yeah.
5th win in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
Interesting. All right. Well, there you go. So if you ever wanted some free advice, man, I don't hate that. If your book has NBA All-Star MVP odds, it's worth a look.
I mean, you got to bet on something on Sunday. There's very little on Sunday evening. Basically, all the NHL games are on in the afternoon, so you're going to have a horse in the race somehow. Yeah,
and this is that time of year, too, where, I don't know about you, but start getting a little depressed. You know, like Sunday was good. It was a fun Super Bowl. It was a good halftime show. Had some good food, some good drinks, won some money, and I was feeling happy. Then Monday hit, and I was just done. Like Monday morning, I was just like moping around my house with my house coat with my like hot cup of coffee, which eventually went cold because I couldn't drink it, and it was just. So maybe that's what I need: a nice LeBron James MVP for the All-Star game bet to prop me up, to keep me going. You know.
I agree. And I don't know if this is, is this the first year that it's Kobe named after Kobe Bryant, or was it named after Kobe last year as well?
Yeah, it's probably last year. Because that was a couple years ago, right? Like, that was like pre-pandemic, I think, Kobe passed.
It was like right before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Australia was on fire, Kobe Bryant passed away, and then the world shut down for 2 years. Isn't that crazy? 2 years in a pandemic?
Yes. We've seen some crazy things, so it's not that crazy. This is your first show. We're going to talk about headlines. We'll run through the headlines of the Canadian teams, and I guess that's where we're going to start. So I've already got the standings queued up. I've been waiting to click ever so gingerly. Going to click on League, That's totals. We're going to scroll down to the bottom and talk about the team at the bottom, work our way up. And unfortunately, a Canadian team, the Canadian team, some might say, is at the bottom. Montreal Canadiens. Has anything happened in the last 2 weeks noteworthy? So we're talking a 2-week span. Has the Montreal Canadiens given you anything to talk about?
They traded Tyler Toffoli, and I think that was Toffoli's a great trigger man. I think they got a good haul. I think they got a couple picks. They got a first-round pick, prospect. I think a second was also included. But anyways, you could tell that they're basically starting to tear this bitch down. And I don't know who's going to be safe in this rebuild. I don't know. I can't point to one person who I would say that the Canadians need to hang on to this person to be successful in the long run. I don't see it. I can't point to the cornerstone. So maybe this is part of the much bigger deconstruction of the roster to load up on future prospects and maybe eventually a player to build around. But I don't see it with what they have right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. We pulled up a roster right now, with the cap friendly. I don't know if anyone's jumping off the page, right? Let's just lots of spare parts. And I mean, it's kind of what we talked about last year, right? Even the start of this offseason, they just have a lot of bit pieces here and there, right? You'd say Nick Suzuki has that good upside, but is he ever going to be more than a number 2 center in the league? Could he ever be that number 1 impact dynamite center? He'd be a great piece, right? If he's your second, third center on your team, that's amazing. But I don't know if he's worth holding on to, right? Versus what's the cost? If you're getting a return in a prospect, a pick or two, I would move him, right? So I agree. I don't think there's a lot of have to building block pieces. So they sold their soul last year. We watched it. We saw them go to the finals, and now they have to ante up.
And how you describe Nick Suzuki is how you could describe everyone on that roster. Brendan Gallagher, Josh Anderson, any one of their forwards is Brendan Gallagher would be a hell of a second or third line winger on a cup contender. Yeah, he is not a top line winger.
No, and I guess that's the point we're getting to is right now they're on their roster. I wouldn't say that they have any elite level players that are going to trend to that elite level. They've got lots of great pieces, but they're missing, say, 3 of the most important pieces, right? A top line. So we'll see. I don't know, it'll be interesting. They start selling off. Do they do an overhaul right now, or is this a summer teardown project?
Right now is the time to sell. You got the playoff race is crazy, and there's going to be teams looking to improve their position. Yeah, I always my personal thoughts are you will get the most return mid-season as teams convince themselves that it's worth the push. In the off-season, it's more wait and see, let's be patient, or let's watch some things fall into place. You're not going to get those big blockbuster deals. So now's the time. If the Habs are tearing it down, now's the time to do it, and they will get more for their roster than they will in the off-season.
Yeah. Well, and even these other teams, if we're just looking at this bottom 5, between Philadelphia, New Jersey, Seattle, Arizona. Some of those, they're good pieces sitting in Montreal. We're not discrediting any of the players. There's lots of good, just not the elite pieces, but there's lots of good second, third, defensive depth, even top line defensive guys there. Start buying them up, right? Picking pieces away, taking stuff away that they don't want, right? Take a bad contract and get Nick Suzuki. Right, if you're the Seattle Kraken, why aren't you doing those kind of things? So that'll be interesting to see it. I want to see the Vultures just tear in and just tear this team apart. So,
well, entertainment as we head into the trade deadline push. But what I noticed when you rattled through the bottom 5 teams, there was no other Canadian team. So I'm excited to know where the next team we're talking about lands in the standings.
Ooh, Segway Jones over here. I had to change my screen because at 26th, so we have to go 7th up. So it's not, oh, there goes Grant. So it's not the Buffalo Sabres at 6th worst. It's the Ottawa Senators at 7th worst. They've got 40 points. It's not terrible. I don't know how that compares to everyone else. But yeah, Ottawa Senators at 26th from the bottom. Any noteworthy things happen with the Ottawa Senators?
My camera just frigged up. Hey, I'm back though.
I don't see you. Yeah, there you are. All right.
Okay. I can't point to one specific thing that the Sens have done over the last couple weeks, but we have seen more wins pile up. And, like, for the longest time, we were talking about the Sens as the bottom, right next to the Habs and the bottom three of the league. So seeing them 26th is probably a reflection of the efforts that we're getting out of them. And more importantly, I think Pierre Dorion, the GM, said this will be the last year as sellers. And I think that's great news for the Ottawa Senators. And we're starting to see the green sprouts in their advanced metrics that support that, they've got a winning group.
Right, yeah. And like we've talked about this before, I think the Senators, unlike the Canadiens, have a lot of good pieces that I'd be excited to build around, right? As a fan base, as a GM, as just other guys in the league. I don't think these guys are as easily accessible, and they're definitely trending up, right? So they're kind of at the other end of the rebuild. They've been picked apart, and they're going forward. And I mean, if you're not going to make the postseason and your guys aren't there, being in that bottom 5 in that lottery, and those good lottery odds, right, to maybe get like a top 3 pick or something, it's not terrible, right? Just add those extra assets to the war chest. So I think the Senators are probably in a good place, and if they could go on a bit of a win streak, get closer to 500 towards the end of the season and stay in that bottom 10, it's not horrible, right? It's not a horrible narrative for that team.
So you're absolutely right. And what I'm thinking is, when did they lose to Pittsburgh in overtime? Was that 2017? Or was that
2016 potentially? I think, yeah. I know we were doing a podcast at that point. And
it was 16 or 17. I know Pittsburgh won the Cup both seasons.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to illustrate is it's either 5 or 6 years from peak to ascent. And that's pretty, I would say, as an Oilers fan, I would say that's probably actually pretty outstanding to get, that high, tear it all apart, and then start your climb back up. Good for the Sens. I think they've accomplished things that other Canadian teams haven't done, and that is they've reached pinnacle, they've torn apart, and now they're going back up. And we're looking at the Habs are the new Sens, is basically what I'm trying to get at. So in 6 years, maybe we're talking about how good the Habs are going to be, and it's going to be a lean few years between now and then for them. But things are on the up and up for the Sens.
Nice. So the dichotomy, that other side of that shitty fucking coin of the bottom feeders here. So I'm excited, because I think we have to scroll up a long way before we get to another team here. I don't know if that's for certain. Oh, at 20. We have to get to 20. So that was a pretty big jump. So we're up to 12th from the bottom. You get to the Vancouver Canucks. So apparently I've had a little bit of a fall from grace, because I feel like last time I checked, I think they were up higher.
Yeah, they haven't enjoyed the success that they did early on in the Bruce Boudreau era, and that was inevitable. You can't win. You can't go 8-0-1 for 9-game stretches all season. So I think it's a big step in the right direction, like we chatted about earlier in the season. There's nothing that jumps out at me headline wise that this team has or hasn't done, but these guys are ahead of the curve in terms of development. And if we're playing the train game, like we talked about Sens after Montreal, the Canucks are a step ahead of the Senators in their development. So use the rest of the year as a learning curve and be more competitive last year. But I don't think they have enough runway to get into the playoffs. I said that 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Well, and this one's tough too, right? Because you have to identify who's your core, right? And I think the Senators are at that point. I guess if we looked at the Senators roster, you could probably decide these are untouchables. These other pieces will sell, right? Like Pierre Dorion said, we need to be a seller. Vancouver almost is like at a weird spot where, do you sell? Right? Like, is JT Miller a piece that you ship out? He's kind of the head of the locker room right now. He seems like he's kind of one of the leaders of the team. But he's going to be the biggest return, right? So do you send this leader out knowing, this isn't our time yet, right? Like, this isn't our year. But it could be, right? So they had in that awkward kind of middle end where do they trade the first round pick to try and bring in a piece, right? Or are they just shipping out? I've kind of heard rumors either way. So
if I'm GM of that team, I think unfortunately this is a situation where JT Miller is great, but you have younger players who are going to be more beneficial down the line, and JT Miller probably isn't a guy that you're signing long term. Like, when JT Miller's contract runs out, I picture him getting like a 6-year deal, and I don't think that serves the Canucks' purpose at that stage. Why not ship him out now when his return's highest? Again, in-season trading, you can get a pick, you can get probably multiple first picks, and I guess the measuring stick is, what did you give up to get JT Miller? It was a prospect, and was it 2 firsts?
It might have been, yeah.
I can't even remember the JT Miller trade. Anyways, what I'm picturing is you use that as the measuring stick, and like if you have JT Miller as a rental, like basically if it's a wash, why not pull the trigger on something that's going to make you better in the long run?
Yeah, that's my sentiments exactly. If we move up one spot, though, we get to the Winnipeg Jets at 19th, who have been playing a little bit better hockey, at least in the last week or two, right? They seem to kind of turn things around. Some of the guys are clipping, and they end up playing good hockey. It has to be playoffs or bust for this team, though, right? Like, they're not going to wholesale trade pieces, are they?
I think JT Miller got more than a pick. I was sorting through, but yeah, you're right. We've talked about this, and we were high on the Winnipeg Jets for the last, 2-3 years, where we're talking like, this is the time. That window is effectively closed. Like, if they don't make the postseason this year, then we're talking about the disaster that was the Winnipeg Jets, as opposed to, how did they maximize their core, their youth, their franchise. And I think the sad thing is that it just never came together for the Jets, and that's true again this year.
Yep.
You see these peaks and valleys, coaching changes, and it's just not coming together. It's not this cohesive effort. They absolutely have enough time to put it together and make a push through the end of this postseason, end of the regular season into the postseason. But now you're competing against, the Colorado Avalanche, the St. Louis Blues, the Dallas Stars. Like, these are all teams that are, probably objectively a little better than the Jets. And, do they make the playoffs? I don't think so.
Yeah, and I see a lot of Jets talk on Twitter. I don't know why. I don't like jets. I've never flown in a jet. I don't know why they and sometimes it's the New York football Jets. Sometimes it's the Winnipeg hockey Jets. The last one I saw was Mark Scheifele to the Rangers for it's like Lafreniere, another prospect, and like a first-round pick, right? Scheifele's on like a pretty good deal, like $5 million or something like that a season for the next 2 seasons. Unfortunately, I think they've wasted that heck of a deal contract, right, in the organization. It's too bad, but teams must be salivating. That's an elite top line center for $5 million per season for the next 2 seasons. Like, what's the selling point? I was weirdly talked into it. I was like, do it, Winnipeg. Like, wholesale. Let's restart, rebuild. Obviously, you guys know what you're doing in the draft, right? Like, that's not an issue. Let's just bring in some more pieces, right, and try and see if you can find some magic in a bottle. But I guess that's where I think the Winnipeg Jets are. I think they're closer to tearing it down than building it up. So
I agree, and I also forgot to mention the Minnesota Wild in the Central Division. I couldn't think of the team in the heat of the moment, so I don't know how they make a sincere playoff push with what they have. I
wouldn't feel bad. I don't think people in Minnesota know that the Wild's a team, not the heat of the moment. So it's
that is not Minnesota nice or Minnesota friendly. What do they say? Minnesota nice, friendly? I can't remember.
Stupid Minnesota. We have to scroll up a little bit. Oh my gosh, look at that. Top half of the league. So there's that litmus test. 16th is it? We have at least one team up there. We'll probably have more. Because there's no way that they're like below the bottom half. But the Edmonton Oilers, 15th. Good job, Edmonton. Looks like you really pulled your socks up, won some games. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. The new coach bump. I talked about it all the time. There's a new coach bump. It's inevitable. It happens. 4-game winning streak under Jay Woodcroft, I believe. Is it 4? I think so. And first game, their advanced metrics weren't superb. But since then, and that is Jay Woodcroft, this system has now had time to be rehearsed. The Oilers look good. And from a statistical perspective, they were looking like a team that was underachieving. Well, they weren't looking. They were absolutely a team underachieving. So, new coach, new mentality, new system, whether that's contributing, whether this was just an inevitable climb. To be honest, I haven't seen any Oilers games since the coaching change, so it's good to see. I don't know how long. My biggest concern is, and we saw this last year with Montreal, maybe I mentioned this last week, but like getting this interim coach on a team that was inevitably going to go higher is just one of those like concerning things for me, concerning, trends, because is this a sincere reflection of the coaching change, or was this the inevitable climb where Connor McDavid was better than his metrics, he was better than his stats implied? And it was like that for several Oilers players, and goaltending, was starting to turn around. So, did the goaltending change or systems change really make a difference, or was this, Mike Smith just being better because he was shit for the first part of the season? So, we'll see how it all plays out. But for now, life's good in Oilers land.
Nice. Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're going to win. I mean, they've got the high-end talent, right? Like, they weren't as bad as that losing streak, I think, entailed, right? So, get healthy, get playing, right? Evander Kane's there. What could go wrong? So,
oh God, oh man, you know what? I would like to see what could go wrong with Evander Kane in Edmonton. It's like matchstick in a dry haystack.
Yeah,
maybe is the appropriate. And like it's smoldering, it could ignite at any minute, or it might not. Maybe nothing happens.
I do have got some cards. I think they were like the MVP, Upper Deck MVP from this year, and they have these cool like before and after style, right? So they have like the guys dress up in like their fancy clothes, and like they have them in their player's uniform and that. And the two cards I got were William Karlsson. And I was like, that's a good one. And Evander Kane. So if Evander Kane could do something and increase the value of that card from like 2 cents to like $2, I'd be okay with that. So that's the only reason I want to see nice things from Evander Kane is I really want some better return on that pack of cards I bought.
The old self-serving angle. I like that.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I've ever been so disappointed when I pulled out a hockey card and I'm like, Evander, like, why would they even make this card right now? Like, isn't he...
You know what would be the best, though, is if it was, like, Evander Kane with, like, his stack of money, like that one, versus him in Edmonton. I think that would be the most appropriate now versus then. Yeah. And we'll see how long the now version of Evander Kane lasts.
Goes for, exactly. Finger on the pulse of the Oilers, I guess, because we're just buying. We're doing, like, a trade deadline, quick preview, our quick thoughts as we're kind of getting back into hockey here. Buying, right?
Oh, they are absolutely, there's no doubt about it. Like, another missed playoff season would be an absolute disaster. Ken Holland's job is on the line now. Like, you can only go through so many coaches before, powers that be recognize, well, it's not the coaching. So if they don't make a sincere run this season in the post, or sincere playoff run, then we're talking about Ken Holland, maybe coach or GMing somewhere else.
I feel like Edmonton really likes to go back to the well on things. So congratulations on trading for Cam Talbot. There you go.
So, who was that? The Griffin Reinhart trade? Or no, that was a first. I think that was they traded a first round selection. I think it ended up being Matthew Barzal.
Yes.
I think that was the Cam Talbot trade because Griffin Reinhart was for.
Something like... No, I think it was a first. I think it was a first they gave up for Griffin Reinhart, and the first became Matthew Barzal. And then Griffin Reinhart just got waived at some point. And you're like...
He didn't get drafted in the expansion draft. They're like, you can leave anyway.
Yeah, we were hoping that they were going to buy. All right. Good job, Cam Talbot. We have to move all the way up to 10th. We're the top 10, and we've got the Calgary Flames. It's pretty exciting stuff. I feel like they've had a pretty easy schedule as of late. Once in a while when I flip on, they're playing like the Columbus Blue Jackets in back-to-back games. And I'm like, oh, wow, you won 2 games. Congratulations.
You know what? The scheduling has absolutely played into their success this season. And I hate to fucking say this, but Calgary could go on. They could be, very realistically, in the Stanley Cup Finals. Especially after that Toffoli trade. I was kind of, grounded a little bit as an Oilers fan because all of a sudden, now we talk about... So you got Johnny Gaudreau, you got Elias Lindholm, You got Sean Monahan. You got Tyler Toffoli. You got Milan Lucic. Like, their top three lines are basically like prototypical playoff team.
Yep.
Like, it reminds me of it's very much the same as the 2012 LA Kings. I think about Simon Gagne leading. I think that was the third line, the second or third line. It's the same thing with Sean Monahan. He's got that trigger man. Like, they had Jeff Carter. They got Tyler Toffoli. Those maybe aren't equatable, but then you got like the high-end skill player, which is Johnny Gaudreau. Your back end looks good. Tyler Anderson. Jacob Markstrom, like, you invested 6 years in this guy to get 2 or 3 good years out of him. Mm-hmm. This is it. Like, he's 31, 32. Like, he's got 2 like above average. Well, this is his first above average season. Maybe he's got one left before you start to see the decline. Mm-hmm. This is it for the Flames. This is their chance to kind of win it all. I think the only thing that gets in their way is a playoff series either, and I don't think it's Colorado, believe it or not. I don't think that Colorado's the team to do it. But could you imagine the heat of the moment, like Calgary versus Edmonton? It would have to be most likely a second-round matchup. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that I could see potentially getting in the way of the Flames making the Stanley Cup Finals, because I see them better than the rest of the teams in the West.
Really? Huh. Fascinating. Like, you're telling me that Vegas, you don't think Vegas has a better chance?
So Vegas is another good team. And so if we're going to talk about Vegas, here's a little fucky thing. So what I'm anticipating with Vegas, because we just saw Mark Stone go on the LTIR, and they had to make this move to activate Jack Eichel.
Yes.
If we see the Vegas Golden Knights pull a Tampa Bay Lightning and hold off Mark Stone so that they don't have to move a piece, you're right. I would say that Vegas is very much in the conversation, and I could see a Calgary versus Vegas Western Conference final. But if they have to move a piece to get into this cap-friendly situation where, they're, I think, $10 million over, like, that's not even just one piece. Like, you're moving 2 big pieces to get into the cap zone. But if they can avoid that, if Mark Stone stays out to the playoff time, I agree, Vegas is the team. Like I said, it's either going to be Edmonton, Calgary, and Vegas in the conference finals. Like, that's just what I'm picturing.
Yeah, well, that pretty much has, unless the wild card, there's like a wild card upset or something like that. Like, right, the Wild, I guess the Wild are probably a bad example. Who's in that other? It'd probably have to be the Wild, right? Just based on like St. Louis or something. They get hot, but Calgary, such a strange team, right? Like 2 years ago, they looked awful, right? Like, they just fell off a cliff. All their guys, no one wanted to play there. Everyone's being shipped out. Gaudreau's still being shipped out. Like, he's still leaving this offseason, right? Even though he's having this, like, and he's like, oh, he's just playing so he can get out of town and make more money elsewhere. Which, I mean, probably what's happening, right? But it's just one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, they're done after this year.
Yeah.
They have such weird peaks, or they're in the bottom. They're in the bottom 5, or they're, like, this, like, playoff almost contender, right? Going I don't know, it's just strange, the peaks and valleys that this like franchise has had the last couple years. So
this is what we're seeing is kind of the opposite of the Montreal Canadiens, and that is last year, or the Montreal overachieved relative to their metrics, but Calgary was on the opposite end of that coin, and that is they underachieved kind of substantially. They were top 10 in the league in a lot of metrics, and then it didn't come together for them. All those changes, like you're mentioning, Daryl Sutter comes in halfway through the year, and it was just a formality to get through the season. We're seeing the opposite now. So, like, as bad as like Calgary was last year, they were due for progression. Like, they were a team that was better than what we saw, and now they're on the up and up. And this is kind of those like season versus season corrections where a team's metrics will eventually balance out, and I think that's what we're seeing this year. Is we're seeing, a team that had one of the worst PDOs in the league last season, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, not much has changed. Their metrics are still elite, but they're starting to get those results, and that's inflating their PDO. And I think if we were to compare this, like season versus season, Calgary would be average for exactly that reason. They're overachieving this year relative to last year's underachievements.
Gotcha. There's cool. All right, so go Calgary Flames. Top 10. I believe that only leaves one team left. So as we slowly scroll up, we have to get to 6th overall, and we see the crown jewel in the Canadian assortment of teams here at 6th overall. They're a couple points off the pace of the Colorado's flying up there, eh? But they're close. They're like a couple points back, 67, 7 points away from top of the league, Toronto Maple Leafs.
I have been excited to talk about this team because I'm starting I've been talking about this late January ascent. Like, I know that I mentioned it before, where teams start their climb at end of January, and they're just like, that's what I look for when I look at teams who are going to make a sincere playoff run. We're obviously past that, but when you factor in the timing of the schedule, and that is the season doesn't end at the start of April now. It's going till the basically mid to end of May. So timing wise, like if my theory holds any weight, we're talking about a team that's going to start their ascent maybe mid-March, and then they get into that sincere playoff push rather than end of January. So I guess, and this is leading into Toronto's metrics are shit. They're in the shitter right now, but they're still overachieving. That's going to lead to an inevitable collapse. So I'm anticipating some growth or some correction from the Leafs over the next few weeks. And then, if the timing works out well, we could be seeing this ascent mid-March, where it's like, all right, we bottomed out end of February, start of March, and then we're going to start climbing back up, at least metrics-wise. I think that would be the best omen for the Leafs, and that is like they've hit this wall in their metrics. They're going to slide, and they're going to have to start picking it back up. And timing-wise, I think it's going to, this is exactly what I look for. And I've mentioned this so many times on the podcast before, but this could be the year that we see the All-Canadian final. We could see Calgary, or we could see Edmonton versus Toronto. And, realistically, this is a possibility that I think that we have to, as hockey fans, start getting excited about, because it's something that hasn't happened since, I think, 1989? Calgary versus Montreal? I can't think of anything, because 93 was Pittsburgh, or Kings. Montreal beat the Kings. So I think it's this is 30 years, 30, 40, 33 years in the making?
Cool. Yeah, that sounds very emotional. And I mean, if we've learned anything from, say, the recent Olympics, emotions has such a strong ties with hockey, right? Like, if you're not emotionally invested, the fucks that you give are probably pretty low, right? So if they can't buy that in, so an all-Canadian, someone, we can just, the public opinion can really latch on to these two elements, these two parts that potentially have a chance of meeting like that would be huge for the sport, right? And just kind of help it take that step, come back into that consciousness. So here's hoping.
And that, so if we're going, I thought maybe we would see Montreal take the cup home back to Canada for the first time. They missed their opportunity last year. But my next theory was that there would be no ambiguity about whether Canada's getting the cup. It's just
Your mic dropped off. Did you mute yourself? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Was it me? No, I didn't touch anything. I swear. No, you're on. Hello. Hello. Technical difficulties. Way to go, guys. All right. Grant's doing his thing. Grant, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I didn't get a thumbs up. Oh, what was that?
all right. I can hear.
Yeah, you were in and out there for a second. Hello?
Yeah. Wow. Classical Canada puck stuff here, I think.
That's it. All right, well, we're back. There we go. We only lost it was a minute. That's fine.
Our viewers are going to be upset that we're rolling into 61 minutes in today's version of the podcast, but so be it.
Son of a gun. Well, technically that's not bad. It's only what's a minute really when you think about it. So, all right. You were saying something, being nice to me as a Leafs fan, and I like that. So.
Yeah. I am excited to see how there are some exciting things happening in with NHL teams in Canada right now. So
Yeah.
we get to enjoy the rest of the season, see what kind of playoff shenanigans that leads to.
Sweet. Yeah. And I mean, at this point, we're kind of, if we look at the wild card, I was looking at it the other day, I kind of feel like Toronto's pretty much a lock, right? Like, I don't know if we can find exactly, like, they're a lock to make the postseason. It's just where they make the postseason, right? If they fall out, I really can't see Detroit, who's 15 points behind them, catching them, right? So we're saying end up in a wild card spot, right? Versus they potentially could jump and maybe get like a home ice advantage against the Lightning or the Panthers, depending how that kind of plays out, right? And then if we go on the other side of the coin, we've got Flames 1 in the Pacific, Oilers 3, and Winnipeg is playing for I guess Winnipeg and Vancouver both playing for potential wildcard spots, if not spots within those divisions. So yeah, lots of excitement. We're going to get 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 teams. That's not bad. And then for all those like self-deprecating group of fans, you get to watch your team compete in the draft lottery, so that's exciting.
Hopefully for the last time for quite some time for Sens fans, but Montreal, you got what you deserved.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's one of those things. Montreal, get used to this, because I think that's where you're going to live for a while. Senators, just win the draft lottery randomly. Overbuild expectations over the summer. Sounds like a great time.
Yeah, that is exactly it.
But
what?
No.
You take
no,
it
you
away,
go. No, oh, I don't want to step on your feet. You go ahead.
That wraps up headlines in the NHL Canadian team perspective and leads us into one of basically my favorite section, something that I've adopted more wholeheartedly over the last few months, and that is Bettor Advice, where Mick and I try and take FanDuel lineup and see how much money we can win basically over the course of a season. It's been a bit of a learning curve, but I'm starting to get a hang on this, and I'm really pumped about my roster. If we wanted to recap where we were at 2 weeks ago, I did poorly. Since we haven't been recording, though, I've been doing all right. I've done a few tournaments, won a few dollars, and like I said, I'm happy about where I'm positioned today. Do you have a horse in the race today?
I did make one. I'm just looking at, how did I do last time we played? So I'm thinking January 29th?
Yes.
It sucked. I got 45th out of 51. All of my changes that I made to my lineup, I made on the podcast. Had I just left it, I think I actually would have cashed in. Because can we see, what's this top entry? I've fallen off. I do not think I've actually looked at, Quinn Hughes, 0 points. Ekman Larson, 8. That sucks. William Nylander, big 0. Craig Anderson. I got Craig Anderson with the win. That was pretty exciting. But other than that, team sucked. Connor McDavid, 3 points. What the heck? Versus if you watch the beginning of the show, it's better. So I have not looked at FanDuel since then. So I'm glad you've carried on, kept the tradition alive, kept rolling.
Yeah, that's all we can do. Yeah. My last, like I said, I think I was Seward. Connor McDavid let me down. I ended up on the, I went Coyotes goal. I don't have the Melka.
I knew something good was happening in Montreal, or with Edmonton against Montreal, and I had Zach Hyman. I said, Zach Hyman's the guy. This is his moment to shine. And then in the middle of the podcast, I changed it to Jesse Pujarvi. So stupid. Would that have been a different maker? Maybe. But I'm not gonna focus on the past. That was an old me. I'm gonna look fresh. So
we're here, living in the here and now. I have a roster, like I said. I don't know what about this just makes me feel all right, but I'm happy with it. Do you want to go first, or you want me to fire away here?
I'll go first, because then I'll change and wreck my roster and not win any money and be like, if only I didn't change anything. Actually, no, I'm not going to change a thing. This is it. Nothing changes. I'm going to start off by, even though we talked about the Ottawa Senators playing a good brand of hockey, having a positive future, I think they're going to lose tonight to the Boston Bruins. I almost forgot their name for a second. So I'm going to go with my man, Jeremy Swayman in goal, $7,900. I thought that was a pretty good deal. And again, with goalies, I'm just trying to go for wins. So I'm just kind of picking low-hanging fruit there. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to take Anze Kopitar. I think it's a pretty good hockey player. And $6,600 against the Coyotes. It's not. It sounds like a pretty low risk, high reward. I like that. We've got Elias Pettersson and JT Miller both playing the Ducks tonight. Elias Pettersson, $5,100. JT Miller at $7,100. We've got my man William Nylander. I wanted some part of that Toronto offense. I wasn't feeling Austin Matthews. Last game, he lost some giblets running into the puck, or into the net, I think. So maybe we'll see him slow down just a bit, just in that sense. So I wanted a little piece. We'll take Nylander. Noah Hannafin at $5,000. And Vince Dunn at $4,900 are going to be my two defensemen that I'm going to throw out tonight. And then in utility, I got Taylor Hall. Plays on the top line against the Senators tonight. $5,700. Smells like a great deal there. I really like that play. And then my last $5,100 went to Adrian Kemp against the Coyotes. I think we're going to see some scoring in that game.
Yeah, I like you. Got some good pieces there. You're going to listen to me speak, and you're probably going to change something. So please, for the love of God, don't change anything.
So excited. But I'm gonna cut the cord to my mouse, and I won't be able to do it.
Okay. Well, you know what? Maybe this could be, like, if we ever end up on intervention, that's definitely what we're going to try.
Okay.
But I'm starting on the back end today because I'm really high on Thatcher Demko. Since Bruce Boudreau has come to town, Demko has been an absolute difference maker, and even more so on home ice. And that was pre-Bruce Boudreau. .938 save percentage at home this season. He's gone above .933 in 3 of his past 4 performances. Thatcher Demko is undervalued once again at $7,400, and I have no qualms about taking this guy. I've been on him for months, and it's been paying off. I'm not going to change that strategy now. Not with the Ducks kind of in the shitter. I've talked about the Flames. You'll hear me talk about the Flames next segment. Spoiler alert. I like Tyler Toffoli's addition in Calgary, and he's skating next to Sean Monahan. So I have both Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli. Super undervalued. $4,300 for Monahan. $59 for Toffoli. They're gonna be difference makers for the Flames. I like the way that this team produces at home, and I think that we're going to see more sincere production out of Monahan. Unfortunately, Elias Pettersson's head's going to fall off in warm-up because I am also on the PD train.
It sucks.
He does a lot of damage on the penalty kill, on the power play, and the Ducks have started to regress. So I could see PD factoring into the scoring. Eric Brandstrom, Ottawa. I know you've taken a stance against them, but I still like their chances to compete on home ice. More on that later. Boston hasn't been as good as we've seen. They're missing Brad Marchand. That's going to impact their lineup and scoring. Eric Brandstrom is a guy who I think is top line defenseman. He's going to play meaningful minutes. He's going to start in the offensive zone. At $3,900, it felt like a steal. Like, he's going to exceed his implied value. And next to him is David Pastrnak. And I know that they're on opposite teams, but they're next to each other on my little lineup here. So David Pastrnak, as mentioned, Brad Marchand not in the lineup. Pastrnak's going to drive production. $8,500 again, seemed undervalued. And my last few players are all from Toronto, St. Louis. Rasmus Sandin, you've heard me talk about him. He's a guy who's undervalued in the his output doesn't reflect his production metrics, and he's a guy who I think we're going to see more from. And at $3,800, I'm willing to bet that's coming against the St. Louis Blues. Mitch Marner, I know Austin Matthews has been doing like mean things with the Leafs this year, but Mitch Marner, and that's overshadowed Mitch Marner's contributions. This guy's been on an absolute tear over the last month. $8,800. I originally had Johnny Gaudreau in the spot, but for the exact same price, I could get Mitch Marner, and to me, it just made a little more sense, especially with that I had Monahan and Toffoli. And then lastly, Jordan Kyrou. Kyrou is a guy who I think he ranks 4th in team scoring. He's like, from a metrics perspective, this guy's a darling, and I think he's going to start making a name for himself. I could see, Hockey Night in Canada being a time for this guy to put up 2 goals and capture some people's attention. $6,800. Again, one of those guys who I think could easily exceed their implied value. So altogether, like I said, I like my team, which is probably, the doom that the inevitable doom that I'm setting myself up for.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You always get high on it, and then it kind of settles out. And although I'm noticing Vince Dunn, for some reason I thought he was a Blue, and I thought I was taking a St. Louis Blues. Apparently he's a Kraken. Don't know if I love that, but I don't know if I want to change it. I'm so scared to change it now. So
I crossed that bridge with Johnny Gaudreau. I was like, by taking Johnny Gaudreau out, am I not assuring him of at least 6 points?
Yeah,
but time will tell.
Yeah, like could I improve that? Where do I get if I had say? I could do Ekman Larson, Charlie McAvoy, outside of Dunn. If I switch, say, what was his name? The Boston goalie for Demko.
So you don't want my opinion on McAvoy, but he's a guy who's also underachieved this year. And if you like Boston's chances, then he's worth including in your Bruins stack.
Kind of wondering, like, throw that in there too. I think that looks better than like Vince Dunn against the Flames. Like the Flames.
Fuck, Vince Dunn.
Vince Dunn. Sorry, buddy. I thought you played for the St. Louis Blues, so shot you. You're dead.
No. You missed it. You're done.
Oh, darn. You're done.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, there's always next time. So there you go. So I did make a change. So Vince Dunn's getting a hat trick tonight, and I'm going to sit here and just be like, fuck. So minor change. I said I wouldn't change anything, but oh well. Or we're going to see the Ducks have a big upset victory over the Canucks. That's the other possibility. So.
Oh, yeah, I guess now you're kind of invested in the... Let's just take a quick peek here again. I did like what I saw from the Canucks, and like I said, Demko, he's just constantly undervalued, and I don't get it. Like, I don't get why he's not in the $8,000 range, especially with the way the Canucks are playing.
That does seem weird. And I'll take a risk over that, because, I mean, the other side, I do have to look at Brady Tkachuk all night and hope that he doesn't, like, go off, maybe at some point just beat up Swayman. That might just happen. He just grabs him, just pummels him to the ground. He's like, what's up? League won't even suspend him. They're like, nah, Brady Tkachuk's too good of a guy. He does the Frank the Tank thing when he scores. We love him. So,
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was looking for, this won't surprise you, I was looking for a Frank the Tank gif earlier this week, and all I got was a bunch of Brady Tkachuk gifs of him doing so.
Cool. All right, so that is our FanDuel lineup. Save that, leave that. Come back next week. Hopefully you took our advice, made some money. Like you could do in our next segment, Bettor Advice. And, look at that. 3-2 for Colorado. Good job. So what we do is take 100 theoretical dollars every single week. We gamble it on anything we want in the hockey world most of the time. Sometimes we do it on prop bets. So if you would have joined us last week, you would have seen our prop show where we did essentially the same thing. 100 theoretical dollars, which don't count against, I think, our weekly totals. So any winnings just goes into our pocket. There are no losings. Good old Super Bowl bonuses. But this week we're back at it. We have to put 100 of our theoretical dollars back on the table. Grant, how you doing this far? How'd you do in the Super Bowl?
Well, the Bengals +4. I can't remember if I had +4, 4.5 on the podcast. But that was basically one of my things that kept me afloat. Odell Beckham Jr., anytime touchdown scorer. I'm gonna stir up some controversy because I know that the color of Gatorade was blue. I know that that's what was awarded. But if you watch the replay, I shit you not. Like, if you look closely, there is purple in there. Like, I wish that if you just Google, like, Gatorade, Sean McVay Gatorade bath, there's a part of it that looks purple. So I'm gonna call foul on that one and say that purple should have hit because there was a little bit of purple. In fact, I'm gonna look right now. Other than that, I missed out on a few. Jalen Ramsey. Oh, so the curse is alive because, as you know, I bet on Jalen Ramsey as the MVP. However, not only did Jalen Ramsey get torched at multiple times throughout that game, somebody just about ripped his head off. Who was that? Higgins on that 75-yard grab?
Yep.
Where he just grabbed his face mask. And that's another tough beat because that put Higgins at 100 receiving yards. And my prop that I had +310 on, which was, will there be a 100-yard receiver? I bet no. He was the only one to make 100, and he hit 100 on the dot on the 75 face mask play. So I'm not sour, but it is what it is. The gambling gods give it, the gambling gods take it away. But I think I'd have to take a closer look. I'm assuming I'm right around push because I won the Bengals and I hit Odell Beckham at plus 138, maybe.
All right, cool.
How did you do?
Well, I'm investigating. There's this one picture here where I see the blue Gatorade hitting his like darker blue jacket, and it creates a purple effect, and that's what you might be referring to. But like the water coming out of this jug is definitely blue.
All right, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just the
there's this one picture I've got up on the screen right now, and like there's this big splot of purple, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty purple. And like coming off the top, it's like a lighter color. But if you look at the one that's like what's in the tub, although I think that's last year's, because why are there Buccaneers players dousing someone in blue Gatorade?
So yeah, I'm looking at one here, and you're right, it does look a little purple. But it could just be the contrast versus the blue. Because there's also blue in the background. That could have been what I was seeing.
All right. Well, just, we gotta keep things on the level. How did I do? I did all right. I got a... will either team score in the final 2 minutes of the first half? I said no. That was right. I also got Nick Suzuki points. He did nothing. Matt Stafford interceptions. I said Stafford would have more. He had one. Boom. Easy money there. And then as well as I had an under parlayed with LA straight up winning for plus 195. So I hit both of those. I walked away with about, what does this look like? $160 winnings. Put that in my pocket. Or sorry, $177 if you would have just listened to my advice. Add that to my season total. I'm up to almost $500. I think $495 on the air. I don't think I've ever actually had plus money during this event, so I'm feeling great.
Thrilled. Why wouldn't you be? Good for you, man.
Yeah. My advice too. Guy showed up at my party. Said, hey man, you should go to playalberta.com for a $45 donation. So $20 or $25 initially. They give you a $20 or a $20 free bet, as well as the next $20 you get a $100 free bet. He took the Rams winning, the Bengals plus 4.5. He walked away with $75 free in his pocket just for listening from me. So, and unfortunately, no one else took that advice.
Yeah, that was a good middle you hit. The sad thing is that, as you were mentioning earlier, we don't get to talk about this again until, at the very earliest, is May when the schedule is released. But realistically, having these concrete discussions, we're not having them until September. So good luck getting through the next 7 months.
I don't know what to do. I'm just going to have to emotionally hedge against the Leafs and hopefully that they tear my heart out so I can get some money. That's what all I got going on.
Not a bad strategy. It's gotten you this far.
Yeah, it plays pretty well.
We've got
3 plays today.
I have technically 4.
All right.
Let me just pull it up here.
So why don't you start, and then you could do your parlay of everything together for $5 at the end.
Hey, there you go. Mick pays attention to me.
I do pay attention.
So, you know what? I'm going to start with the least of the glamorous picks. It's not even that. It's not glamorous at all, but the Calgary Flames have been one of the best teams in the NHL over the last few weeks. They've outplayed their opponents, and I think 11 of their past 13 games are on home ice, prime time, against a Seattle team that, although they've been more competitive, they are not good. Minus 330 doesn't do the Flames justice, and that's crazy because, it's a steep price. But I like Calgary's chances at home, so I'm betting $50 that they win. It's only going to win 15-15, but I had to save myself a little money in the tank for the rest of the plays. So Flames, money line, minus 330 is something that I'm one of my more confident plays.
I'm also confident with that, but I parlayed that with the emotional part of this wagering. So I'm going to take Flames plus Blues for plus 260. It's not terrible. $33 on that with a return of like $120 or something like that. So. Okay.
I mentioned it earlier in my analysis of the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are faltering. Mm-hmm. I have put in an article that I think that St. Louis is probably the side to be on, but in that advice was a shootout ticket because I could see a shootout pick. I could see that one going up to overtime. However, I'm not talking about that one in this segment. I am talking about a couple other overtime games. First of which, Boston at Ottawa. Boston just can't seem to figure it out. Goaltending has been an issue. We've seen the Sens do good things at home. I could see Boston easily winning this game, but not before a shootout, overtime or a shootout. At it's up to plus 330 now. At plus 330, I'm betting $20 that this game gets sorted out in extra time.
Nice. I also have an overtime play, but I'm going to save that for my last one because it's the juiciest. Instead, I'm going to take a 3-team parlay of overs. I like Toronto, St. Louis over 6.5 goals, Ottawa, Boston over 5.5 goals. So I guess in overtime, I'm doomed if it's like 2-2. That's too bad. And then I've got LA versus the poor lowly Coyotes under 5.5 goals. I don't know if we see a lot of competitiveness from the soon to be playing in a 3,000 person arena Coyotes. Just move them. What are you doing? Come on, that's stupid. So I'm gonna parlay those together, and I get plus 720. That seems outstanding. So that's my second play.
Well, I can't let you,
$33 on that one too. Sorry.
I can't let you get by without, you brought it up. We got to talk about it. We're going to see an NHL team get outsold by an NCAA team. Not even just any NCAA team, but one of the biggest party schools in North America, the Arizona State Sun Devils. Does Gary Bettman, he's got pie on his face already. I don't see how this becomes more of an embarrassment for him.
I don't get it. And they're showing the people of the arena. They had a video earlier, this is where the Coyotes are going to play. Wow! And it's this one tiered little bleacher seating place. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? A professional team is going to play there, and you're going to hang your hat on that.
And they're not even those seats are going to be ASU colors.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But anyways, I can't wait for this to play out so that we can just laugh at them even more. That Simpsons episode where Sideshow Bob chases the Simpsons to Lake whatever?
Yeah.
It's and he's constantly stepping on the rakes. This is Gary Bettman with the Arizona Coyotes franchise.
I just don't. It doesn't. I don't understand it. They must have some dirty pictures of him or something, or him doing something notorious, and the owner is like, haha, we'll show you.
Yeah. So, but we digress because I have one more pick. Well, I have technically two more picks, but Mick's already lifted the curtain on that.
Yeah.
Another overtime wager. I hope I don't take the words out of your mouth on this one. I know you guys have heard me talk about what I think of Vancouver or Thatcher Demko on home ice. I'm not convinced that they win in regulation, though. Anaheim, they've been struggling over the recent sample, but both of these teams play a defensive brand of hockey. Canucks got away from that a little bit over the last couple outings, but I expect that this one is more tight checking. Both goalies, John Gibson, Thatcher Demko, are outstanding. I could see this one needing overtime. I do give the edge to the Canucks, but I'm not going to pass up the overtime wager at plus 330, $20 to win 66.
Huh. Well, look at that. So I got them at 320 in overtime, and I think Vancouver is definitely going to overtime there. And I'm going to put $34 for 144 return. So,
well, good luck to you on that one. Now we basically just guaranteed that this is a 10-0 game.
Oh, and the fact we're both on Demko,
10-0 Anaheim. So everybody bet Anaheim.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm personally, I might just hedge the show and throw $5. I'm I don't know, parlay the Ducks with the Flames and the Blues or something, and just get all the good feelings. And the Coyotes, just throw them in there,
Man, that'd be something. The Arizona has been playing better hockey recently. LA, second night of a back-to-back. Emotional win over the Knights last night. I could see this being a bit of a flat spot for the Kings. I wasn't brave enough to take it myself, but Godspeed if you do. As Mick mentioned, I've got a 3-leg parlay combining all three picks: Bruins, Ottawa tie, Vancouver, Anaheim tie, Flames money line. $10 to win $230.93. This is going to be a real money play as well, so hopefully it pays out. I could use one of these, clean sweeps. I've been somehow avoiding them over the last few months anyways.
$5. So our plus $2,000 so all we need is St. Louis to win. We need the Flames to win. We need the Coyotes to win. And we need the Ducks to win. Plus 2,000.
Why not?
So
why not?
What are the odds of us being complete idiots and just being that far off? before being, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyways.
Did we read the tea leaves?
Did we read the tea leaves?
$5 gamble.
I'm really sad that I'm looking at a recording time. We're at an hour. We still have 2 more things to do.
Oh, damn. All right. Well,
it's been a while. It's been like 2 weeks. We took a good break. That was like our mid-season little break, right? So
I have a feeling I'm going to run through this Olympic trivia.
Yeah.
Maybe I should let you introduce the segment or wrap up this one first.
Yeah, so that's kind of it for our gambling advice. Hopefully take that. That's kind of it. We have a trivia game where Grant's going to try and open some cards. See how he does. And then Grant's got one last thing for us, and we're out of here. So, in honor of Team Canada, poop in the bed, not making the playoffs. You're like, ugh, it's terrible. I thought, when was the last time outside of the I don't know where they were at before this, the last Winter Olympics, when the professionals. But we're talking about a professional team here that really pooped the bed. We have to go to the 2006 Winter Games from Torino in Italy. I was
going to say that. They lost to Russia in the quarters.
They were not good. They lost to Switzerland in the round robin. They ended up in third. They were big. They were slow. But we've got some banger names. Grant, you were taxed with, I think there's about 10 cards per pack or something like that. Can you name 10 members of this crappy team?
Oh, damn. So, I know Martin Brodeur was the goalie in 2002. I know Martin Brodeur was there in Vancouver in 2010. And in 2010, I said, and maybe you were even a part of this conversation, Canada will not win the gold medal with Martin Brodeur, and they did not. So I'm going to assume that Martin Brodeur was also there in 2006.
Ding ding ding! There we go. First check mark. Grant's trying to get 10 check marks. He has 3 X's. Can he recall the 2006 men's Olympic roster from Torino?
Do backup players count as well?
Anyone that's on this list, so would work.
Is there 3 goalies on the list?
There are 3 goalies on the list, yes.
I believe the third goalie was Curtis Joseph.
That is the first X on the board. Curtis Joseph did not make it, even though he had some pretty good play. I think with the Coyotes, speaking of the Coyotes at the time, they went with some other dudes.
Well, not leaving anything to chance there. I think on the back end, they had an aging defensive core. And I remember the name... At least I'm hoping he was there. Chris Pronger, was he on the 2016?
Ding, ding, ding. Chris Pronger himself was there, yes.
And I think they got even slower because I think Rob Blake was also on the team.
Rob Blake was, in fact, on the team. Ding, ding, ding. Grant's up to 3, 1X. Only 7 more. He's crushing it.
So moving... I want to take a chance on the back end, but I'm not going to. I'm going to play maybe a risky card up front. Or you know what? I'm going to play a more confident card up front. 2006, I also think Jerome McGinley was on the 2016.
Jerome McGinley, in fact, was ding, 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 on the list. Great.
Okay, this is a risky card, and I might regret playing it. But was Danny Heatley on the team?
Danny Heatley was on the team. Look at that. We're 5-1. Grant's crushing it right now. And there's so many great names.
So many great names. And among those great names, and this was probably one of the better players on the team, but was, I think, Scott Niedermayer. Was he on the back end?
Scott Niedermayer, in fact, was not on there because they did not like how effortlessly he skated. And they don't want people that put no effort in their skating. So we're going to give him a big X. Grant's looking at 5 checks, 2 X's. Ooh, is he going to get an X or can he do 5 more? Oh, no, that's unfortunate.
5 more. All right. So I remember the famous... No, I'm not going to play that card. I was good. Anyways, I believe that Joe Sakic was also involved in this team.
Joe Sakic was. He might have been a captain. So there we go. So up to 6. Nice.
When I think back to 2006, other big names. I know this was right around the time that Jonathan Chichu was like thriving in the NHL, but I don't know if he was on the team. I don't think he was. Okay. this shouldn't be as hard as it is. Who else was the goalie? Was Mike Smith on this team? Was he the third goalie?
That is our third X. Grant is done. The goalies were Martin Brodeur, you're right there, Roberto Luongo, and Marty Turco. Marty Turco. On defense, we had Rob Blake, like you said, Jay Bouwmeester, Adam Foote, Brian McCabe, Chris Pronger, Wade Redden, and Robin Regier. All right. And then on forward, we had Todd Bertuzzi, Shane Doan, Chris Draper, Simone Gagne, Heatley Aginla. We had the pairing, so if you would have hit one, you might have got all three. We got Le Cavalier, Brad Richards, and St. Louis. And then the other guys are Rick Nash, Sakic, Ryan Smith, and Joe Thornton.
I was thinking Le Cavalier too, but I couldn't get it out. Anyways.
All right.
Well, I did okay. Maybe save face. It's a passing mark.
6. What is 6? How many cards do you get? 8 per here? Is that what you want, or do you want one of these? 8 and 6. Would you rather have one of these? Would you rather do O-Pee-Chee or Upper Deck?
I'll do O-Pee-Chee, and I think I've earned half of those cards. So I will say I take the first 4, you take the last 4.
All right, so first 4 coming off the top are mine. I get the first 4, so that's pretty exciting. Oh, I like how crappy this pack is to open. That's a good sign of the quality of these cards we're about to see. First 4 off the top, I got a Claude Giroux, and these are cool because they're like old, kind of almost like paper style. I got a Tyler Toffoli. I got a James Van Riemsdyk. So as a Flyers fan, I am just ecstatic about these cards that I'm pulling right now. I got a Carter Hutton. There we go. Yeah, it's sucky. We got look at Grant. He got a first card for Mr. White here is a Dallas Stars team checklist.
Oh shoot.
And you just get sure enough, you got a Montreal Canadiens team checklist.
You know what? I deserve this.
Travis Hamonic. All right. And you end up with a Giovanni Smith. I don't know who that is.
Jamel Smith?
Giovanni. Yep. All right. Well, hopefully you enjoy your checklists.
All right. Well, it is what it is. No crying over spilt milk.
600 cards. I think they include literally every single hockey player in this set of cards. Wow. Huh.
You know what? The challenge that I'm going to propose to you is that you arrange them. I know how much you love hockey cards, and I know that you systematically do it 1 to 600. But the challenge that I propose to you is you do it alphabetically. Show your commitment to the Canada Puck podcast, but
Drew, Toffoli, Van Riemsdyk. Well, that's simple. And then Hutton. So I'll just put Hutton after. There, done. I did 4.
Off to a good start.
Off to a good start. All right, so that's it. Good job. Well, not good job, Graham. Good try.
It's, and it's not it because, I just lost who it was. Let me just go back and find her here real quick. We wouldn't be the Canada Puck podcast without our Babe of the Week. Not so underground, but 20.1K. She's only got 11 posts. She considers herself a bit of an artist. Lauren Wolf is her name, and you can find her at It's Wolf Baby, and that is ITSWOLFE Baby. She's been disabled a few times, and by that I mean her accounts have been disabled a few times, and it's possible that this lady has been a Babe of the Week in the past. However, she is willing to bear it all. Maybe this is part of the reason why she continues to get her accounts disabled. It's Wolf Baby is our Babe of the Week.
One of her outfits is just belts. It's fascinating. Huh. Yeah.
It is fascinating.
It's not bad. Hell of an artist there. Hell of an artist. She's got an eye of an artist there. So, cool. So with that, Babe of the Week. Congratulations. Good job, Grant. That's it. Back at it. Go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the stretch drive now. Got trade deadline stuff, playoff stuff to talk about. And between now and then, nothing but excitement on the Canada Puck podcast. We will be back next week for another exciting installment more betting advice, more headlines, more babes of the week.
Everything.
Till then, Mick, party on.
Party on, Grant.
See everybody next week.
Bye.